Twitter announced today that they will not allow the sharing of private media like images or videos of private individuals without their consent, to which some people like Anthony Pompliano said, "So Twitter's banning memes?" So that's not exactly what we're doing. We're going to get into it, I'm sure, in this segment. I'm not completely against it, but yesterday we heard that we heard that Jack Dorsey was leaving Twitter, and he has really been building towards a decentralized future, which included and includes decentralized social media. So Naomi, I'm going to kick this down to you. What did you make of this announcement from Twitter this morning?
I mean, it's interesting because yesterday on the show, we did say that Agrawal was going to come down hard when it comes to censorship. I didn't expect it to be the next day. The first time he gets CEO, he starts banning things. I mean, if you look at face value, what they said, it doesn't sound terrible. It's the stuff it's saying is we don't want to hurt people. We don't want people to be abused. We don't want people to be doxxed, all of that. So at face value, this sort of stuff is okay, private platform deciding that they don't want that sort of content. But what it comes down to is that their language is so vague around this, where they're well, also if it's in public interest, maybe we will. And if it, furthers the societal conversation, then it is. And, and they kind of have all these caveats. And really what it comes down to is that Twitter is increasingly a political platform, and they definitely have biases in certain areas, and they're going to kind of double down on what we've seen before with deplatforming of certain groups and kind of amplifying the narrative of other groups. So I mean, it does worry me when I see the largest social media platforms have such a bias towards kind of shutting down conversations as they do a lot of the time. And now they're adding to it the type of things that you can put out there. A lot of accountability in society does come from people with their phones in public, filming things. It's like a double-edged sword because I can totally see that that's kind of abusive a lot of the time, the people who are being targeted. So I kind of agree with Twitter there. But on the other side, it does provide accountability on other sides of things. You could be filming a police officer who's abusing their power, and that may not be allowed on this platform anymore. It's just very unclear what will be allowed on this. And what it comes down to is the biggest platform for enabling us to converse with each other is clamping down. And what are the solutions? Where are the spaces on the internet where we can still have free discourse? And a lot of people are kind of looking to those decentralized platforms where censorship isn't possible because it's decentralized, because there is no CEO to pressure, because there is no central database to take, pull things out of. But Jen, I'll throw this to you for your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to add some more information. So part of Twitter's announcement that they said that you would have to report the image or media file. So if it's an image of you would have to report it before it was evaluated by them. It doesn't apply to public figures or the media. And it puts Twitter in an interesting situation, because if a video is reported and they feel that the outcome of the video or the public good of the video outweighs your claim to privacy, they may choose to leave it up. So it's putting them in a situation where they're going to have to make these judgment calls. Zach, I don't know. What do you think of this announcement?
Yeah, I think the timing is really interesting and suggests that I think there might be, you see sort of rumblings on crypto Twitter that, oh no, the end times for Twitter are near. We need to start thinking up some alternatives, for the time being, and probably for the foreseeable future. Twitter is where the party is. It has the network effect to where everyone is there, and it's where the conversation sort of gathers. The problem with decentralized social media to date has been that these have been sort of small offshoots, not very lively parties. So whether or not this momentum, or these questions at least, will turn into some actual momentum for decentralized social media platforms, super early, hard to tell. But it does seem like there's a bit of investor interest in finding ways to make decentralized social media click. Twitter itself is trying to build ways to make decentralized social media click. And I wouldn't be surprised if this ultimately became a turning point, seeing Jack step down, Twitter sort of take a new era without its founding member as CEO. So going to be interesting to watch. But yeah, I'll kick it to David for his last thoughts here.
Yeah, I just was looking at my phone for a second because I was looking up the stock, and it's really weird, frankly. Like when the Dorsey retirement announcement came out yesterday, there was this huge sudden spike in Twitter stock, and then it just immediately went back down. And we've seen downward momentum since then. And it seems like the narrative shifted really quickly. I'm speculating about the initial narrative, but this censorship thing seems to have maybe had some downward pressure on the stock. And I would say that I have a question, I guess. Is it private as in stuff that's filmed inside? Because at least in the United States, a lot of the legal standards are if you're in public, there is an implicit legal consent to be, photographed. And I wonder about that because that seems to be Twitter going even beyond the limitations of what we consider normal speech in the United States, at least. So that's intriguing to me. If it's just any private individual, you can't publish a photo without their consent. That's going even further. So that's just a question for me.